The early season heat of 85 degrees Fahrenheit was blanketing the Pyrenees Mountains in the province of Lleida, Spain. Our wildlife management team had just been invited by local authorities to help address a growing crisis. Steep terrain, deep ravines, and dense pine forests waited ahead of us. There would be no room for hesitation. Join us as we step into today's demanding control operation. I was standing on a rocky outcrop at the top of the ridge. When pressured, wild boars instinctively run uphill to escape. My task was to lock down the upper route while using the high vantage point to relay positions to the team below. Binoculars in hand, I swept the brush continuously. Movement. A boar was sprinting hard, climbing toward the opposite slope exactly as expected. I held my breath, tracking every heavy stride. The moment it entered the open, I acted. A sharp crack tore through the valley. The target dropped. The sudden report sent the rest of the herd into panic. They abandoned the summit route, turned sharply, and charged downhill into the pine forest below. The update was sent immediately over the radio, so the team beneath could prepare the interception. After receiving the warning, Antonio had already moved into position among a field of jagged rocks. We had placed him there deliberately because the terrain formed a natural bottleneck. Any animal fleeing from the summit into the valley would be forced to pass through this narrow point. The heat was draining every ounce of strength, but focus had to remain absolute. He listened carefully, stones shifting, dry branches snapping. They were close. Antonio raised his optics to eye level. From the tall grass, a boar burst forward at full speed. No hesitation. One decisive action. The movement ended instantly. Every target controlled meant one less burden for the farmer's labor. At the foot of the hill, not far away, Carlos was waiting. This was the classic hammer and anvil tactic. The trained dogs were the hammer, driving the boars out of hiding, while Carlos was the anvil, holding the forest boundary. The relentless barking of the dogs echoed across the landscape, the perfect signal that the targets were being pressed into a corner. Carlos drew a deep breath, eyes fixed on the tree limb. Suddenly, a huge dark shape exploded from the brush. Instinct took over. He pivoted, locked on, and reacted in a flash. Another threat removed. At 1:45 p.m., the temperature reached its peak. The dogs were panting heavily and had to stop for water. The dogs, equipped with GPS collars, were sent in again to apply pressure from within and force movement into the open. I stood on the hill, muscles tight, sweat stinging my eyes. One boar emerged from the brush. I seized the moment, but its endurance was remarkable. It took several more follow-up actions before the target could be fully recovered. Step by step, order was being restored to this land. At 3:20 p.m., Antonio's next task was to seal off a dirt trail leading along the slope. When wild boars become exhausted, they choose the easiest path available. This road was the perfect corridor for crossing from one forest block to another. Then the dogs began barking again. A good sign. He slowed his breathing, keeping his mind perfectly still amid the chaos of sound around him. There, the herd burst across the opening of the dirt road in panic. A sharp report rang out, and one individual fell immediately. At 5:10 p.m., the sun was beginning to drop. GPS signals and fresh tracks in the soil showed that the dominant boar was still hiding. Then suddenly from the upper slope, the lead boar charged downhill, tusks flashing. My heart pounded. Stay with its speed. One final perfect action, close the day. When we approached, the massive target, weighing nearly 300 pounds, had been fully controlled. Removing this leader was a major blow to the herd's unchecked expansion. The greatest threat had been eliminated, extending peace to this land one step further. We had to move fast to recover everything before local vultures swooped in to claim it, loading it onto the Land Rover Defender for the return trip. An exhausting day had come to an end, and quiet had returned to the Valley of Lida. What do you think about this push-and-drive strategy in such harsh terrain? Share your thoughts below, and do not forget to subscribe for more intense field operations ahead.
We are standing in Florida, a tropical paradise, but also the battleground of a silent war. Behind its beauty lies a serious problem: wild boars. These animals aren't native, they're an invasive species. Each year, these wild boars cause billions of dollars in damage, destroying crops and wreaking havoc on farmland. Today's location is a swampy area with pine forests in central Florida, where reports say wild boar populations are dense, and there are even a few monsters among them. Our mission? Reduce the damage. Follow us closely. This is going to be an unforgettable hunt. We quickly set up our elevated observation blind, a tactic that gave us a commanding view and the element of surprise. Immediately, two audacious wild boars raiding our stored supplies below came into sight. I squeezed the trigger as soon as I confirmed the primary target, dropping the first boar instantly. The second one panicked and tried to flee, but it was too late to escape far. I regained my composure, took careful aim, and took it down on the spot. This double kill marked a resounding first victory for the team, giving us the momentum to carry on. We continued moving cautiously through the area, edging closer to the deep forest. Suddenly, a massive herd of wild boars appeared, numbering in the dozens. It seemed that the boar population had exploded throughout Florida. This was a golden opportunity to strike decisively. I held my breath, focused on the largest boar in the herd, and with full concentration on my rifle, I took the shot. The boar dropped instantly, sending the rest of the herd scattering in all directions. The team swiftly moved into action, shifting to single target tracking, ensuring that no threat escaped. Without delay, my teammate Kevin spotted a group of 3 wild boars in the distance. Quickly, he implemented a long-range shooting strategy, dispersing and positioning himself prone for maximum stability. He locked on to the lead boar, squeezed the trigger decisively, and took it down with precision. The shot caused the remaining boars to scatter in panic, setting us up perfectly for the next phase of our hunt. After the herd scattered, we quickly pinpointed the next target, a boar trying to hide in the brush. I reloaded my rifle, focused intently, and without wasting time, fired a clean shot. The boar fell instantly, neutralized on the spot. By the afternoon, the search became more urgent as daylight began to fade. I spotted a large boar moving in the distance. I didn't shoot right away. Instead, I silently crouched, waiting patiently for the boar to come into optimal range. When it finally stopped, I took the shot, and the boar dropped immediately. This victory proved the value of patience, even in the final moments of the hunt. As dusk fell, we began to make our way back along the trail. Unexpectedly, from the edge of the forest, through the rotting trees, a final target came into view. Without hesitation, I quickly reloaded my rifle, focused intently, and made the final shot. The last shot rang out, bringing our hunting journey to a perfect close. The final shot ended the day's hunt, sealing it with success. We carefully gathered the trophies and used specialized vehicles to transport them. Every part of the hunt and harvest was done in full compliance with U.S. wildlife laws. We left the area feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. What do you think was the most intense shot? Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. After the harvest, the fields are left with nothing but bare stubble. But this is exactly where wild boars often come to forage. They dig up the earth, ruin the freshly harvested plots, leaving chaotic traces and causing great distress to the locals. This is why we decided to organize this hunting trip, to control the wild herd and protect the crops. Before setting out, the team carefully checked their guns, reloaded ammo, tested radios, and put on protective gear. Will our plan succeed? Can we take down these destructive invaders? Follow along to find out. About 20 minutes later, we arrived at today's battleground. The open field ahead was the perfect spot for wild boars to appear. The team leader quickly divided us into groups to block exits and set up an ambush. Within just 10 minutes, the ground seemed to tremble as a herd of boars ran single file across the field. The leader tracked every movement carefully, keeping his sights locked. When all factors aligned, he fired decisively. One fell immediately. Then, supportive shots rang out from blocking positions, dropping a few more. The rest of the herd fled, only to run into the traps we'd laid. Suddenly, a large boar charged straight at me. Without hesitation, I raised my rifle, steadied my aim. At just the right distance, I pulled the trigger sharply. The bullet struck the heart and lungs. The boar collapsed on the spot, ending the dangerous charge. You see, when facing a wild animal charging head-on, staying calm, estimating distance, and prioritizing safety are the keys. Right after my shot, rapid gunfire erupted from the left. A massive shadow had panicked and bolted past a nearby squad. Reacting quickly, my teammate calculated the speed and direction of the running animal to take the shot. At the precise moment it crossed the clearing, the bullet tore through the air and struck true, flipping the boar over as it struggled before finally collapsing. Nothing could outmatch these sharpshooters. A flawless kill, ending any chance of escape. At the same time, another boar burst out from the dry crops nearby, desperate to escape. My teammate reacted instantly, pulling back to gauge the trajectory. In a split second, the shot stopped the escape attempt. This quick reflex made all the difference.